Like, towards the end of his life, Tesla said, I could build a death ray that cracks the earth. Why would you be thinking about that? And the only reason I can come up with is Tesla was the original mad scientist. Mm-hmm. So,
can you imagine, like, job offers he might have gotten from other countries and nefarious peoples?
Welcome to the 42 Podcast, where we discuss life together, looking for answers to life, the universe, and, well, everything else. Here are your hosts, Rob and Lindsay.
Good morning, Robert.
Hey. Well, what are we talking about today?
Today we're doing our book club show, and we read Leviathan by Scott Westerfield. And it was...
Can I,
Yeah.
I kind of set that question up a little bit intentionally.
You like to set me up. Oh, right.
I know, I do. I'm really mean like that, aren't I? We have spent 4 episodes talking about Star Wars.
Yep.
How have you felt?
I'm sad that we are no longer talking about Star Wars, to be honest. Because I could go on.
Really?
Indefinitely. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I feel like I'm laying on the ground tapping out, I'm done.
Really?
I need more life.
Did I out-geek you?
No. You didn't out-geek me, but, like, I love sitting with a topic for a while, and then I love just kind of moving on.
Yeah.
And I'm at that point where it's, okay, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready. What's next?
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
And don't misunderstand. I loved our conversations about Star Wars, because it really was... It's kind of like this. At times we've described this podcast like 2 friends sitting in a bar having a drink. And for me, the Star Wars episode was a great, initial geek introduction, trying to find the geek weaknesses of, okay, do you know this? Do you know that? Do you know... Mm-hmm. And a continued escalation, but now it's last call, we've had one too many drinks, and...
Yeah. Otherwise... I don't want to be the friend you don't call for drinks because all I talk about is Star Wars.
We're not at that point, but for me, it's this. We've had some great conversations. We will come back to Star Wars. We really will. And I think when we do...
There'll be shows to talk about.
Right. We'll do something a little more like laser focus. Like, let's talk Star Wars, Mandalorian the first half, or, Rebels, or Clone Wars. Let's focus in on a select part. Because now we've done the secret geek handshake. We both know that we know all of the secret knowledge of Star Wars. And we're good.
And now, forever, I will be sending you interesting Star Wars quotes as I read them. And you just...
You sent me one yesterday.
Yeah.
I did not reply to it, but you sent me one, and it was actually a good one. Where the Jedi courted power, the Sith lusted after it. Where the Jedi believed they knew the truth, the Sith possessed it. Darth Plagueis.
Yep.
Plagueis,
yeah. I'll be that friend. Just send you random Star Wars quotes.
That's okay. I can live with that. Although I have to say I had a lot of fun with the opening for last week.
Yeah, I can't wait to listen to it.
Because I got to play... Yeah, well, I know you haven't heard it yet, so I'm torn between, like, telling you and
it's making me
wait
till Monday.
I know, because I got the play off of... It was a perfect play off. A meme that's been going around with Star Wars that was just, oh, this is great. I love it. So
cool, I
think
wait.
I'm going to make you wait.
Yeah, I'll wait. And I'll be surprised with everyone else. I think doing the cold opening has developed into one of the favorite things of being the one who gets to edit. When you're the one who gets to edit, you can subtly embarrass the other person. And it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's also true. I kind of sent you, I've edited
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks, whatever. It was like episode 2, Dueling Fates. I edited that, and there was a great soundbite in there from you.
Oh, yeah, that was
that
from
I pulled
that?
out. I sent you.
Okay, yeah.
That was from that. I'm saving that for when we do video game conversations. I may pull that one out because
that's awesome.
Like a perfect soundbite.
Yeah.
I pulled out like this weird, awkward laugh of mine that's now a soundbite.
That's a good idea. I never thought of that.
So if I'm hearing things that are like, ooh, that's really golden for us in sound bites, I'm pulling it and I'm creating a sound effect file.
Good idea. That's a great idea.
Just as a, maybe we have nothing to do with them right now. Maybe down the line we do, but, there you go. We've got some...
Yeah. Yep, good. That's a good idea. Very clever.
Yeah. Yeah, editing is kind of neat, especially trying to find that section. It's like, ooh, what is this, 30-second, 1-minute chunk that helps give context to where our conversation is?
Yeah.
So, or provides this really weird, left turn. What is going on?
Yeah,
What is wrong with these two today?
Yep. I see it as bait to get you to bite.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know how we got to this part in the conversation, so...
Wait a minute. So let me understand this. You're viewing this as bait?
Yeah, kind of.
That first chunk, so I mean, effectively you're driving around in the podcast version of a white van with free candy on the side?
Yeah, basically, I think what would lure me into that white van? That's what I think.
Okay, you just took it to creepy. I'm out. No.
That's me.
Sorry, I took it to creepy.
That's me, taking it to creepy since 1987.
What was I looking at the other day? Oh, it was something that was like, oh, this happened 40 years ago. And I connected, wait a minute, the 1980s was 40 years ago?
Wow. You
see that face you just made? That was like the mind-melting moment. Sorry, you brought in 87.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And 40 is quickly approaching, it's approaching me quicker than it's approaching you.
I think I'm 34.
You think you're 34?
I'm at that age where I've forgotten and I sometimes have to do the math. 34, I think. No, I'm turning 34 in July. I can't remember. Isn't that pathetic? That's how old I am, is I don't know how old I am.
I have 4 siblings who remind me of that. When I turned 36 this year, and when I turned 36, my sister called and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she and I were talking, and she tells me, "I'm really struggling with your birthday this year because that just means I'm closer to 40 now." I'm the oldest. I'm the closest to 40, and she's struggling because... What?
You're the pioneer.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm the one who stepped in everything first. Yeah. Oh, man. That is also... Oregon Trail.
Right? Yeah. I played that. I played that on the Mac, my friend's Mac, when I went to her house.
I think it was I might have this wrong, but I think it was the Mac 2 that my school had a computer lab full of, with a 5.5-inch floppy and the green screen of Oregon Trail. I remember that.
Yeah, me too.
That was the highlight of our computer lab time. We're yeah, I died of dysentery.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
They made a board game of it. It was a summer. It had to be 2 summers ago. We were doing board games through the summer with the youth group. And one of my students brought the Oregon Trail in as a board game. And I hated it. But it also looked really fun. I hated it because we played it twice. And so both times, first time on my turn, I drew the Viper card, which is instant death.
Mm.
On first turn, both times. Oh, come on.
That's weird. I
sucked at this in the 80s,
Somebody was
too,
messing with you.
Yeah, probably.
That's funny.
But, alright, we
started off on the right track. I had us going on the right track, and then you're like, yeah, but guess what we're not talking about today? Star Wars. So that's your fault.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm just happy to talk about things other than. I love Star Wars. Don't misunderstand me. I mean, I bought that 3D printer, and the first thing I do is I bring a piece of Star Wars to life for me. So,
well,
I sent you the picture of all my Star Wars ship collection, didn't I?
Yes, you're the coolest. You're the coolest. If we were kids, I would have asked you, like, can I have that? I was that annoying kid who asked people for their toys because I didn't know any better, I guess.
Oh, they're there.
And then I'd get in trouble. That is so cool.
I love this. It normally lives in my work office, but pandemic, they've been home with me in my home office. But no, these are great because, I mean, I pull these out with kids when they come to the church. I'm like, hey, let's, play Space Battle. And so we have space battles at the church.
It's cool. That's a good collection of spaceships. And do you have, it's all the ships? You don't have any figures? Do you have figures too?
It's just all the ships. I mean,
that's cool.
Anytime I see they come out with like a new set, I'm searching for it.
Oh, they're still coming out with them?
I think so. I mean, the last set I found... Oh, no, I turned on the robot. Shh.
I don't hear anything.
Yeah, it stopped. Sorry, I have one of those voice-activated household robots that occasionally is like, did you call me?
Oh.
Did you call me?
Creepy.
Did you call me?
So, what did you make us read? Tell us about...
I made us read.
Why you chose what you chose.
Nice job on bringing me back on track.
You're welcome.
Commendable.
Thank you.
So, I made us read a book by Scott Westerfeld called Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was introduced to this, I feel like it was a decade ago, roughly. My brother is the one who introduced me to the series, probably around 2010, 2011, I think. And I was in youth ministry at the point, so I always try to read the young adult novels that are coming through, which, horrifically, I read and argued and had opinions. I feel like this is like a shameful confession to me.
Ooh, tell.
Yeah. I read and had arguments with students on the Twilight series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we even went and watched the movies.
Yeah. It's kind of trendy to hate that. You know?
It is, but, well, I mean, even when it was out, even when it was popular, I was like, it's just weird. Like, book 2, I don't remember what book 2 was, but it was bad.
It got weird.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole...
It was...
Yeah, it did get weird.
And I get it, where it was a book of depression, and it was meant to be a book of depression, but it was just... Ugh.
Yep. So...
So when young adult books come out, especially if they're somewhat popular, I will try to engage with them. Now, Leviathan, the book series, never really gained any kind of popularity, but it was something I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was this nice, divergent...
young adult pun.
Not intended that way, but yeah, okay, Divergent series, there we go, I read that too. It was this nice kind of... You're kind of in this comfort zone with some things you're familiar with, but everything's different. And that's what I enjoyed about it, because it was an alt history of World War One.
Mm-hmm.
Is an alt history of World War One. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's very steampunk, which I'm a very quiet, like, ooh, steampunk. I actually do like steampunk, and I'm just going to sit here quietly in the corner and observe.
Yeah, I like steampunk too.
Yeah, so I mean, it was this neat kind of steampunkish journey. I mean, that's the best I can describe it as at the moment. But, which I felt like with where you and I are at, how we kind of enjoy these different geekdoms, how how that book plays out, because there are some great things and themes that are explored in the whole series, I figured it would be worth the read for us. And I guess my biggest curiosity, because you texted me this week about it, and we'll get into that, but you texted me your initial reaction to the ending, and I'm curious to see what you thought and felt with the whole of the book first.
Yeah.
Like, so did you enjoy it?
Let's say here that if our lovely audience hasn't read the book, we are going to be talking about it in detail, so there will be spoilers, and if you want to tuck this episode away until you've read the book, that might be a good idea, because we will be spoiling it, so be ye warned.
Wait, I was supposed to read the book?
Yeah, last time you read it was 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, again, this is where Bella goes and... Oh, no, not Bella. Who's the Twilight person? I was going to make a joke on that.
No, I'm pretty sure that's
flopped.
Bella. I'm pretty sure that's Bella.
Is it Bella?
I think so.
I'm gonna regret life. I'm gonna look it up. Hello, Google.
It's Bella, yeah.
Oh, you're right. Bella Swan. What do you know?
Mm-hmm.
I flopped the joke anyway. So, all right. What was your reaction?
Overall, I really liked it. I thought it was very interesting. It was fascinating and interesting to read, as far as the clankers were cool and interesting, and you could kind of see how they did sort of pull from Star Wars. They reminded me of the AT-ATs. The clanker, the storm walker that
so
Alex had.
Maybe all right, give me your reaction, then we'll talk more about the detail of clankers and the other group.
I loved Dylan / Darren. Or Darin. I'm not sure. This was such a British book. It was so British that I really don't know how you say Deryn.
Dylan.
Is it? Yeah, but that's Dylan. That was her pseudonym, but her real name was Darin or Darren, but I'm not really sure. Is it Darren?
Darren.
Really?
That's how I read it. Darren.
It's spelled funny, and Darren is obviously a man's name, but so I didn't know. So I just said Darren in my head.
Well, barking spiders.
It was so British. It was really fun. Yeah, and I liked the characters. I kind of felt like Alex's people were gonna betray him. I kind of felt like Vulgar.
Oh, I love Vulgar.
I kind of thought he was up to something, but he ended up being okay.
he is that. Oh, we'll get into that. I'll keep my mouth shut. All right, keep going.
I liked the visuals. The Leviathan was a crazy ship, like this giant hybridization of whale, and there were bats involved, and birds involved, and the little cilia on the skin of the whale that sort of helped steer somehow. It was just super visually kind of creepy. But just like super visual. I thought the writer was fantastic as far as getting the feel for what was happening, and the illustrations were great too. I don't know if your copy or if all the copies have illustrations, but the illustrations were fantastic. So yeah, I definitely would recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess this is the area where we can talk a little bit about, because you mentioned it, and we need to give voice to it, but there were two different factions in this, and this is happening in World War I time frame.
Yeah.
Where you have the factions that are the Austro-Hungary alliance, and then the British and her allies, and these factions are divided by clankers, who are mechanical wizards, effectively, who have built steam pump motivation and motive transport and battle machinery, and I'm badly describing this, but incredible machines that are driven by steam, whereas you have Britain and her allies that are Darwinists, who have built their own society around adaptive evolution, where they're creating what they need out of the DNA and mixing animals together, where Leviathan is this giant, and you said it, where there's a beautiful kind of description to it, and the illustrations really are amazing, of this giant, like, whale with multiple species that live in it, including humans who live in it, and it's this airship that's alive, and it's neat. It really is. Just kind of that reimagining of what that time would look like if we were able to create crossbreeds, and if we had the steampunk technology to do that.
Yeah. And I liked the bit where you, not you, but, they, how do you say, the gender roles were emphasized in that, Darren is a girl who's pretending to be a boy so she can be in the, not the Navy, it's not called the Navy, I guess I don't know what it's called, the British Air Force, I guess, sorta, with the beasties.
Yeah, Royal Air Force, or along those lines, yes.
So I appreciated that bit, and contrasting her with the Dr. Barlow character, who's a super strong character, and she's a woman, and everyone's very deferential to her because she's actually a pretty famous person. But her personality is strong anyway, you know, like I really liked her character a lot. So I liked the little hints of gender role, the hints of class distinction, and how it just sort of ends up being a problem for Alex, as far as, like, he's the prince of Archduke Ferdinand and Sophia, or Sophie, I think. So his high class sort of makes him a mark and makes him vulnerable, and that contrast with
And that's actually something we should talk about a bit, is, you know, you have Alexander, or Alec, and he is the son of Ferdinand and Sophia, who is kind of heir apparent to the Austro-Hungary Empire. He's fictional. He's made up.
Yeah.
But you have that, again, enough similarities between familiar history and this alternate history for it to be comfortable for you to sit with it, because the whole book starts with him being swept away in the night by the Wild Count and his master mechanic as they're running, because the Archduke has been assassinated.
Yeah.
And it's the beginning. It's right at the cusp of the wars. Everyone is, you know, oh, you killed our Archduke. We're gonna, you know, fight you, and you gonna fight them. And how that whole failure of diplomacy played out in World War One. Well, the beginning of World War One. Which I found interesting, just kind of, again, it's that familiar vein, and now we have a character who's experiencing this from a first-hand perspective of not just the abstract of, okay, this guy got assassinated, and then everyone just started declaring war on each other. This is, my father got assassinated.
Yeah.
And then this whole war starts getting declared with him as the linchpin.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating undertoning, and part of the reason I did choose this book was also because of Dylan, because I knew you would find that strong woman from Dr. Barlow and Dylan fascinating, and that would play into, it plays into the whole of the story, because there are 2 more books, and that's still an undercurrent. You know, what do you have with classism with Alex? What does that look like as they're effectively, they go around the world in Leviathan. So what does that look like as they're going around the world, as they visit other countries? What does that look like in each of the escalating adventures that they have? And how does Dylan keep her secret on an airship full of men with one other woman? You know, how does that play into it?
Yeah. Yep. Interesting. And I will eventually read the other 2, because I would be interested in knowing how alternate the history is. How alternate it is from World War One, because World War One was a devastating war, because you had armies that were used to fighting a certain way with very ceremonial fighting, and, you know, everybody lines up and this side shoots and then the other side shoots, and it's all very civil, and all of a sudden you have these, massacres of ridiculous amounts of death because we had all this new technology. So, the technology of death, basically. But so how does that tie into the beasties and the clankers? And is that still happening, or is it a little more different? Is it much different? And how does the conclusion of the war happen? And then it raises a lot of questions.
See, now the book series follows Leviathan. It follows Dylan and Alec and the crew of Leviathan as they're going around the world. So it never gets into like the trenches of World War One, into how these moments play out. There are hints of it. There are moments where you get glimpses, but nothing in depth. World War One we entered into with cavalry, and the first cartridge rifles, not the first, but cartridge rifles and the first iterations of machine guns. And it was an adaptation of what was traditional warfare, lining up on a field and shooting each other, being adapted into digging trenches and shooting at each other. It was a stalled war campaign that, fascinatingly, our advances were to get around that old thinking, the tanks, the biplanes, the dropping of bombs, the zeppelins, yeah,
pretty interesting.
It really did change warfare historically, not within the book, but it changed warfare historically. I mean, even how we entered into World War II. Yeah, because if you don't have what happened in World War One, you don't have World War II, because you don't have the Weimar Republic. There it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it is interesting.
And that's the author and the afterwards. Oh, kid alert.
Hey. I thought of this funny thing to do when the kids interrupt is have like a circus theme song. And sort of have that if we don't take it out altogether, which obviously we should, but if we didn't have the circus theme song in the background.
So I guess maybe we should talk about that briefly. I'll leave this in because it's neat. For the last episode, I actually put an R2-D2 scream in. When your little girl popped in, where I left the moment where it was, oh, kid alert, and you say hi to her briefly, and then it goes, but I then downloaded also, because I thought it would be cool, and I'm just that geek, is the, 1950s era Batman TV. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I downloaded that for the next time we had a kid alert. So we'll see what happens. Everybody listening already heard whatever I did.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's part of our lives. I mean, we each have kids.
Yep.
Although you are outnumbered and I'm evenly matched.
Yes, I'm very outnumbered. Yes. Yep.
Because it's you and your husband and 4 kids, and it's me and Mel and 2 kids.
Yep. Plus, my nephew's here helping Colby, and he's it's implied that, he keeps people down there, but I don't think, he must not even be down there. I think he's probably in the workshop doing whatever, which is why they just come upstairs. All willy-nilly.
You know what? I think it's great. I think it's a part of what we're doing with life, and hey.
Yep.
That is life together. I mean, that's...
Yep.
Kids will interrupt, and it's just being cool with how life goes.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, brief funny aside. Mm-hmm. Wednesday this week, I posted the picture on my personal social media, but Wednesday this week, I had to be in a Zoom meeting for work. And at the time that I'm getting onto Zoom, a thunderstorm starts rolling in. Mm-hmm. So I'm that guy who has 2 chihuahuas. And I've got one chihuahua in my lap because he's scared of the thunderstorm. The other one's sitting on a chair next to me.
And they're freaking out.
Because he's scared of a thunderstorm. And then my daughter, who's scared of thunderstorms, is on the chair next to the chihuahua as well. And all of them are pressed into me and just, there's this frame here that you see me on when we do our recordings. But just outside of this frame is just this lineup of family who's like, thunderstorm, we're going to be right by Dad, pressed into him as close as we can. So it's just, right outside of frame. And I'm in the meeting going, okay, nobody make any sudden movements.
That's awesome.
But it was cute. I appreciated it. I appreciated that they felt comfortable that they could do that. And that's where I am with stuff like that, where it's, you know what, life is what it is. Just roll with it.
Yeah. Yep. So, we were kind of talking about history. Is that a thread we want to keep pulling, or?
Well, we can. I mean, what other reactions did you have out of the book? What did you feel with it?
Well, I want to talk about the swears.
Oh.
And I loved the swears.
All right. So, hang on. If you're listening to this and you have small children, we're not going to go intentionally explicit for the shock value, but swearing is a part of... it's a part of life. It happens. So, hang in there with us. We are going to do a swear word episode. I'm excited for that one, too.
Okay, keep going. I just remembered another swear.
Oh, jeez.
It was so funny. Okay, continue.
I know I've mentioned this before, but I really do love sitting down and watching Harry Potter and being like, oh, that's a swear word in British. Oh, that's a swear. And Ron is the worst at this. You've got this 10-year-old kid running around in a kid's movie going, yeah, wanker.
He's a little preoccupied with that. Okay, so...
Well, and I love it because it connects, and I'll say this 5 or 6 more times, but it connects to me and Pittsburghese, where it's, Pittsburghese, jagoff is a huge expletive for us. You jagoff.
Interesting. That's so funny. Because the whole book, when I started the book, I'm like, I wonder if this is, and I'm still not sure, but I wonder if this is something I can read to my son. He's 8, and I love reading to him. We read every morning when we're in school in the fall during homeschool. So I was reading this book, and I'm like, I don't know if I can read this book out loud to him because it's so funny. Can we talk about my favorite swear in this book?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And I guess I kind of only want surface level.
Sure.
Because again, this is part of why I want to talk about swear words in an upcoming episode. But what are your kids familiar with swear words?
I'll say things like I don't I try not to swear in front of them.
Okay.
But we have
swear
fake
words
swears, fake ones, frick or fricking. I say fricking, and then when they say it, I don't let them say it. Because that's, you don't want your kid saying frick at church or in front of your mom. So I don't let them do things, but every once in a while it slips out, and I'll say fricking or something like that.
Okay. I want to talk more in depth in that when we do the swear episode, because navigating kids and swear words is really, as an adult, I'm going, wow, this is complex, and there's no place where there isn't a landmine to step on.
In the book? What are we referring to exactly?
No. In life, just navigating swear words with kids. Because you were saying about, debating on if your 8-year-old could read this book because of the language. And that's just where I'm going with that's something that we've dealt with as a family of, okay, what maturity levels, how do you navigate swear words?
Yeah, and why is it bad? Why exactly are swears bad, and therefore why is it inappropriate for a child to swear? That's the question, and I think the answer to that question determines if your child is allowed to swear, what's allowed, and where it's allowed. Because I think those are important things. Because I wouldn't mind my son wearing.
Ooh, wow.
I wouldn't mind my son reading this book on his own, but I don't know if I can say the words out loud with a straight face. Because it's funny.
All right, so
okay, the one that...
Brief aside.
Yeah.
But yes, go ahead.
Okay.
What is your favorite British swear from the book?
Bumrag.
A bumrag.
I loved it. You're just such a bum rag. It was so funny. I don't think I can read this book to him. I'll just laugh too much. What a clever way. It's like you get exactly the feeling that you want to come across without saying anything too foul, but it's very clear. I just thought that was awesome. Oh.
And she calls almost everyone in that book series at some point. She's like, "You're such a boomerang."
Yeah, she does. It's...
yeah, because Dylan in the whole book series is always... her two favorites seem to be barking spiders, which I don't get. Whatever. Whatever.
Blisters.
And bumrag.
Yeah.
Oh, blisters.
She said...
But that's like expletive, but is that swear expletive, or is that just annoyance expletive?
Oh, I think it serves the purpose. I mean, I think swearing definitely serves a purpose, and I think that's all it does for her, is it just sort of... It's kind of an emotional release to say it. To be disappointed or frustrated and say, instead of saying a swear, you just sort of, darn! You know? But okay, also, this is interesting, because you brought this up. I didn't get how vulgar she was until she was talking to Alec. Like, wow, okay, now, all of a sudden, I get that she's, like, pretty lowbrow. She's from, you know, she's
a commoner.
She's a commoner. She's not dumb or anything, but she's just very common, which is really, that's what vulgar is very common. But when he came around, the contrast was hilarious.
Yes. And that is neat, because you see crossing paths that she kind of elevates and he kind of declines. And again, that's in the next two books. But I mean, that continues as a tension between them and a tension in the series, because it's, well...
Yes.
You know, how do you reconcile? And you have the fascinating backdrop of what is Alex's parents' history, because you have the Archduke Ferdinand and his wife, Sophie, who was a commoner. And so, you know, Alec is trying to reconcile...
I never... that's a good connection.
So not only is he trying to reconcile what is his relationship with Dylan, who he doesn't find out is a girl, but, you know, how does he have this friendship with someone that is that common? How does he reconcile the marriage that, you know, everyone is telling him puts him as an illegitimate heir, except for some of the... Did you get to the papal letter yet?
What do you mean? I finished it.
Well, right, but there's the papal letter.
That says...
Did you get to that?
Yeah, that,
okay.
Basically, they're allowed to be married as long as their progenitors, they can't inherit.
Well, no, there's the letter from the Pope, the papal letter, in the story that, you know, Alec has all the gold, and then he also has... Hidden in that Swiss fortress that they go to is a letter from the Pope that says, no, this is a legitimate... Alec is a legitimate heir to the Austro-Hungary Empire, whereas his granduncle...
that was the secret.
And his granduncle was saying, no, he's not, but now they have this letter from the Pope that says, yes, he is, so...
Okay, right.
Which just enhances that tension, but he's wrestling with... He has the love of his parents, so... You know, and you have that modeling of what kids have, the modeling of love from their parents, first and foremost, always. So he's now reconciling what is the model of love that he sees between his mom and dad, but his society saying, or not his society, but society saying, no, this isn't okay because he was royalty, she was commoner. And you have that running parallel with the relationship he has with Dylan.
Yeah, so how can he really
he does later.
Him?
Right. Well, and he does later find out that Dylan is a Darren and she's a he, and what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, there's some mind melting that happens there. That's neat. It plays into the grander story. Yeah. And plays into that tension.
I think, all right, and this is a good spot to say, I felt like part of the tension in the book was, are they going to figure out Darren's secret? Darren, whatever. And so they, at the very end of the book, you think it's gonna all be revealed, and then all of a sudden it's over, and I'm like, wait, where's the rest of the book?
And trust me, that tension only continues to escalate when you go into the second book, which is called Behemoth.
Mm-hmm.
So the book series, it's Leviathan, Behemoth, and Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really neat how he does each of these, because you have Leviathan, which is the airship, the introduction of your characters coming together, and the base book of the adventure going bigger. And then you have Behemoth, which is, everyone's together, everyone's in this airship. Now we're going to have a grand adventure, and we're going to take everybody apart. And then you have Goliath, which is, everybody's together again, but now there's this kind of mystery. And they introduce, in Goliath, they introduce one of my favorite historical characters and madmen, who it's just, what in the world? And you and I will have to talk when you read Behemoth and Goliath.
I'm sorry, I can't think of his name, but the president who was the president during World War I, who was that?
Nope.
No.
Who
was that Eisen? No. Never mind.
No,
I'm not going to
wasn't
embarrass
Eisenhower's
myself.
50s.
Okay, I'm not going to see. Already, it's too late. Now I'm embarrassed.
I keep wanting to say Hoover, but Hoover was after
Tarkin.
World War I. Harkin? What?
Tarkin.
Wilson. Woodrow Wilson.
Okay. 1919, yeah. So, who's your favorite historical character from Goliath? Please just tell me. Don't. Just
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Spoilers.
It's okay.
Big spoilers.
It's okay.
Okay. So, I love him as a historical character because he's real. And he's just a mad scientist. He really is. But Nikola Tesla.
Oh, fun. Cool.
And, the whole currency wars. You ever follow, or not currency, current wars?
Yeah.
Did you ever read about that?
Yep.
That's like a favorite little rabbit trail of history. I keep using rabbit trail, and I keep listening to myself saying rabbit trail in edits, and
You say it all the time. Yeah, you do.
I'm gonna give you a buzzer or something to just start zapping me when I do that.
We can do this in the editing.
But I said rabbit trail 50 times, complaining about rabbit trail.
Yeah, you're hopeless.
It's my favorite little aside in history is the tensions between Nikola Tesla and
Edison.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And how Edison would travel around, and Edison was a jerk.
Yeah.
He would travel around and display Tesla's alternating current by electrocuting large animals.
That's disgusting.
It is. And I'm like, Edison, you're screwed up.
Yeah.
He was trying to use it as an example of how unsafe it was. And he'd walk an elephant onto this plate and then fry it. Yeah.
No, you can't hurt elephants. I mean, you can't hurt any animals, right? I know, but elephants are so elephants.
Edison was a jerk. I mean, he did major jerk moves to say, look, it's not okay. Even though AC is what we use today, because it has better transmission. I'm geeking out. Alternating current is a better transmission rate today, and Edison was just a jerk trying to say Tesla was a mad scientist. But I love Tesla as a mad scientist in history, and I loved when they introduced him in the Goliath series, because they just embraced the mad scientist.
Cool. Yeah.
And they embraced some of, Tesla's historic, wacky ideas. Towards the end of his life, Tesla said, I could build a death ray that cracks the earth. Why would you be thinking about that? And the only reason I can come up with is Tesla was the original mad scientist. So,
can you imagine job offers he might have gotten from other countries and nefarious peoples?
Actually, that's the point of Goliath.
Yeah.
That's the point of that last book, is exploring what if Tesla had been right, even marginally right. So, yeah. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But, neat little side. You need to read the other two books, and we'll have to talk about them. But, yes.
I think I would love to read this book to my son, but first off, I don't think I can say bum rag without laughing. And second off, I feel like you can't even read this book without a British accent. I think it ruins the book if you can't do it in a British accent. So I think I'd need to get like the audiobook and have a brilliant reader read it.
I will say this. I did the audiobook.
Did you like it?
I'm finding that with audiobooks, I'm actually starting to get like preferences towards readers. Like
Yes.
who's reading the book.
Yes.
And the guy who read this book, his name was Alan Cummings.
Yeah,
I think it was Alan Cummings.
He's an actor. I think he's in like Spy Kids or something.
Okay. Anyway, him reading this book it was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it because he does good variety between the voices.
Mm-hmm.
And, Alan Cumming.
Okay.
And, I enjoyed the variety because he did each of the books and he was able to do good voices so that you could distinctly tell who was reading and when, and the accents weren't bad at all.
Okay.
So that's something I've enjoyed with audiobooks because it brings a whole new kind of life into classics, into books. I just started doing The Hobbit again.
Yeah, yep.
And, I'm enjoying that because it's one thing. Reading Tolkien's books is always incredible, and it's an amazing journey to go through. But for me, where I struggle is when he goes into the songs that he writes for his books.
Yeah.
I can never get them right in my head, and I'm always disappointed with myself.
Yeah.
But the audiobooks I have, they actually do a good job with it.
They actually spent time thinking about it.
Right. So for me, it brings a whole new layer to Tolkien that I can't do because I don't have that music talent to play it out in my head to get it to go well.
Yep.
But they thought about it. They put effort into it. So when they do the music of Tolkien in his books, it sounds good. It sounds right. It sounds fitting. So like where I'm at in The Hobbit, the dinner party has just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So now all the dwarves are singing, smash the plates and burn the corks as they're cleaning.
Yeah.
And it just brings this whole new measure of that scene playing out in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I do.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
But
it's hard. I get it. Because the movie The Hobbit got mixed reviews, but my favorite thing, the part that I could just listen to over and over again, is that opening sequence where they're singing at the very beginning. They're all singing together after they do that whole sequence. I love that sequence. I think it's brilliant. And it's very haunting. I love how they all sing together. That's really good. But I get you. Yep.
Yeah. So doing the audiobook of this was neat. I haven't done that before. It was neat. I enjoyed how Alan Cumming did each of the accents and did well with it. And even listening to that, even listening to the British accent he does with barking spiders and bum rag and Clark. Clark's the one I always found funny.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because you're like, Clark? What's Clark? And then you start connecting the dots and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
And there are moments, because of how Leviathan works, there are moments where they're literally just casually throwing around Clark.
What do you mean? Like, literally?
Okay, so, yes, literally. Okay. In Leviathan, when, right after they rescue Dylan, and there's the harrowing moment where they have to get her from the Huxley, and she's on the airship, and now they're moving back to London, and they're landing in the park in London.
Yeah.
Okay? You remember that? Mm-hmm. And the picnickers try to help bring Leviathan in, and they dump ballast, which Dylan reflects is Clark.
Clark, yeah. Yep.
They're literally throwing Clark on picnickers.
Yeah, right. I thought you meant like, hey, let's play catch. So I didn't understand what you're saying.
They are. They're like, hey, look, we don't want you here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Hey, look, there's a sound bite.
Yeah. Yep.
But, I mean, they do moments like that where they're like, okay, release the ballast, and people are getting covered in Clark, and you're like, you just flushed the toilet on them. Literally. The toilet of hundreds of species living. Human toilet. Bat toilet. Leviathan.
Yeah.
Those moments, I was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have been a clanker. Sorry.
I think I would have too, and here's why. I feel really bad for that whale. Like, that's the only thing, is that poor whale. Are you happy, whale? Are you happy to have, like, things happening inside your body? Like, that's weird.
Little people crawling around inside you. Yeah.
And they're not free. They're just sort of slaves to the, like, I get it, but they're just sort of they're not happy. And I think I would rather be a clanker too, because it's a machine, and you're something you're good at doing, and you're good at operating, and it's about being a pilot, and I don't know, seems much more humane.
Well, there is a great ethical question of, is it right to, one, modify a species in such a way that, are you bringing it into this world in happiness and joy, or are you bringing it into this world to be destroyed?
And, yeah, and it's godless, like the clankers kept saying, because it doesn't have a soul. Because it's something you created, so it doesn't have a soul, so it's kind of Frankensteinish. Frankenstein's monster. Ooh,
there's one we should eventually read. A good classic.
Yeah.
All right, sorry, random. But, yeah, see, now I would argue that, because Okay, so in the 1990s, you and I were alive for, I don't know if you remember this, but alive for a very unique and different event.
Dolly?
Dolly the sheep.
Yeah.
The first cloned thing.
Mm-hmm.
But was it when you look at Dolly, was it godless? Was its life pointless?
So I think the question therefore is, if it is, does that mean we get to do whatever we want to it? Is the fact that it might be godless give us a right to, like, do whatever we want to it, and it doesn't have rights now just because it's godless? Like, even if we believed that, I don't see how that gives us a right to do things to it that we wouldn't do to a godful creature.
I think it's a great question. I think I have a different spot on it than you, but yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, I'm trying to think how to answer this without going back into, like, another 2-hour debate.
Okay.
But I would say, at least from where we are at in history, that Dolly is a reflection of the original blessing to Adam and Eve. Be fruitful and multiply, subdue the earth and fill it. And I think part of that original creation that we were was to be creative. To be a reflection of God and His creativity in making the heavens and the earth. And that in some way, that original spark is still there, it's just twisted. So I don't think Dolly is a godless creation. I think it's a reflection of what was originally intended, just we can't do things without twisting it, if that makes sense.
Isn't that the definition of sin? Missing the mark?
It is. And so it's that kind of like fine boundary of, yeah, I think we were meant to be creative, but are we being creative to the best of our abilities? And is it honoring God, or are we being creative just to say, look what I did?
Yeah, it gets really messy. I don't see how, if it has a soul or not, that should inform how we treat a thing. I don't see either way how it informs the ethics.
Well, and that is very true. I mean, they do their best in the book, in Leviathan, going back to that, with trying to treat the animals and the creations with dignity, but they are an ends to a means for them. Leviathan is a war machine. Some of the other things that you encounter later in the books are war machines, but they're biological.
Yeah, and he tries really hard to keep it that way in the book. The way he writes, you never get a sense that it's even sentient. I mean, that it has feelings or that it has an opinion on anything. It's just sort of...
Actually, you do in the next book. Because Leviathan does something that no one expected in the next book. That kind of brings that into play where it's, okay, there's more sentience to the beastie than we've talked about before. There's a level of sentience that you have to wrestle with then.
Yeah.
So, and they wrestle with that a little more, and it's fascinating. I mean, it's a struggle because, again, even in how we produce meat, is it a means to an end? Is it right? Is it?
Mm-hmm.
And those are huge debates. I mean,
Yeah, I'm familiar.
We've talked. Well, yeah, and I get it. Like, I haven't done it for years, but I've enjoyed hunting. And the moral and the ethic I have with hunting is, if I'm going to kill it, I can't just kill it and let it be. I have to use the life that I've taken to the best of my ability, every ounce of it. So, the most I've killed is squirrels hunting, and we turn those into stew.
Yeah.
But that's the philosophy I have of what life is, and if I'm going to kill it, I'm going to eat it. There was a groundhog once, and we ate that, and never again. Groundhog is not good meat.
Yeah.
Just, ugh.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of the question of what Leviathan is.
Yeah.
So you would have been a clanker, though, because you would have struggled with...
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
If I had to do everything over, actually, if I had to go back, I think I would be a mechanic or something, like work on cars or work on trucks, because I do like the idea of working on machines, but I think I would like being a clanker.
Mechanics can make good money. Trades can make good money.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, who is in his 20s, is making, as a plumber, he's making ridiculous money. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, trades are great.
Well, it's because our generation, everybody went into human services. That's what everybody did. Mm-hmm. So there's no tradesmen our age, practically.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm not knocking human services. They're needed, but I think it was a huge influx in a getting away from, or a sort of snootiness about the trades. And I think that's terrible.
And there's also a discussion to be had with our generation, and this is, we're going away from the book, but there's a discussion to be had about the time frame in which we hit the workforce post-college, because that was in the 2008 slump.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they didn't call it a depression. What did they call it?
The recession.
Recession. And
yeah, that's true.
So there's a whole bunch of things we can talk about later on with things like that would be interesting. Mm-hmm. Just from a generational point of view. Yeah. But, so overall, you enjoyed the book?
I did. Good recommendation. Kudos.
All right. Hey, it was just a fun book. So, on that note. Yeah. Did you come up with a book recommendation?
I totally forgot. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
Think about it. And we also tossed an idea out a couple episodes back of taking recommendations and seeing what would get put forward from our audience. Yeah. I think we're going to let that stand as well. If you have a recommendation that you would like to see Lindsay and I interact with, and to have a discussion on and be a part of that discussion, again, we're open to guests who want to have discussions with us, who want to bring in a topic, or so reach out either through social media. We can be found on Facebook and Twitter, and yes, I have to fix it. But we have a YouTube channel now too.
We do.
What
do you need to fix?
The episode order.
Oh, are we gonna start recording?
They uploaded,
or just do the sound bite. Just do the sound with an image.
So, yeah, right now it's just the sound with an image, and that's great. Which, by the way, okay, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go one more path weird. Ha! I didn't use it.
No, good. Continue.
I still want to say
go
it. Go
one more path weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna hate myself for that one too. Okay. I am having a fight with Apple Podcasts, and I don't know if you're seeing it on your end, but like every time I pull up our podcast on Apple Podcast, it's always the old artwork. When you pull up our podcast on Apple, is it the old artwork or is it the new stuff that TJ made for us?
It's the new stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Maybe it's just because you're the creator?
I don't know. Yeah, we're the creator.
Well, you did you physically did the creating.
Yeah, I've got the back end to everything. I don't know. That's driving me nuts.
But
okay, so you see the new stuff when you pull our podcast up on Apple.
Yep.
All right. Well, it only ever shows me the old stuff. But yes, we have a YouTube channel now. I need to fix the video order. because they're all wonky. And I will get to that this week. But yes, we have a YouTube. You can find us on Spotify and on Apple, and, we're slowly expanding our social media presence. But yeah, I think we leave we leave it open for recommendations from our audience on a book and a movie, and see what they want us to interact with.
Yeah. I'm going to be thinking, and I'll try to think of a good one to read. And it has to be something we've never read? You and I have never read? No?
It can be something
actually,
that we've read.
You read Leviathan like 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does not have to be Star Wars.
It can be Star Wars if you want. I mean, that would be a focused, singular episode on a chunk of Star Wars.
Have you read Miss Peregrine's House for...
No, I have not.
Miss Peregrine's...
I've been wanting to read that.
Peculiar Children. It's good. And I have it. And I haven't read it in a long time, and I want to reread it before I read the sequels. Because I think there's 3 now.
Okay.
It's weird and cool and interesting.
You know what was another one kind of on that vein of things that I enjoyed? It was A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Yes! Weird books.
That was a fun one. And, but I loved them. I mean, that was like my kind of weird. And the Netflix series with Patrick Warburton, that was awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf, and Patrick Warburton and the kids. That series with the books, I thought they were incredibly well done. I was not disappointed.
Yeah. Do you recommend...
The Jim Carrey series I was disappointed in. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's why they never made a sequel.
I know. And I love Jim Carrey, and that was just sad.
Mm-hmm. Do you recommend reading the whole series before you watch the series?
You can do either or. It's not bad to read the whole series before you watch it, but you're not losing much between the two.
All right, because I'm.
That's how I felt.
I'm constantly considering books to read to my son next fall, and that's one of the ones I was thinking about doing, or at least one, the first one.
Have you ever? I did this with my kids, and it's part of why I'm restarting The Hobbit as well. But have you ever done like Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia with your kids?
Yep.
Or something, grand and epic that's a very drawn-out series.
I let them do this abridged audio series that I found, which was basically very dramatized. So they haven't really sat through the unabridged books, but they know the story. They've, listened to a thing.
See, I actually did. No, I didn't do each of the stories, but we did... my favorite, which was The Magician's Nephew.
Yeah.
And then we did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Mm-hmm. You read them? So, you read them to them?
Yeah, when they were younger, we read them.
Cool.
So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have this... I know I can't because of copywriting stuff, but I have this dream of making my own audiobook just for us. Not selling it or anything, but just, reading a book and then having it to play to the kids at bedtime, so I don't have to be there. I'm kind of kidding about that, but I read to them every day. Okay, I read to them physically myself every day. I promise.
So I'm making a face because I did this last year with everything shut down in Pennsylvania where I'm at. We as a church were trying to find new ways to do things, to reach out, to keep ministry happening, to keep people connected. Mm-hmm. And it was a really cool project that I did. We did our church's own audiobook.
You did?
And what we did, it was me and 3 other people, and we each went and varied and read chapters of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
You told me about this. Now that I think
and every week, and it was such a fun project. Every week we did a different voice of the congregation of the 4 of us.
Can I have it?
And a different chapter. I'll send you the links for the whole thing.
Please?
And it was such a fun project. I really did enjoy sitting and editing the audio files for that. Just listening as the congregation members read what is a favorite book of mine. And, then seeing the interactions and using that with my own kids, even who were familiar with it already because we read it, but now it's being read in different voices and different tones and inflections, and these are people in our congregation, so you have their image in your head as you're hearing their voice, and again, the height of being apart but finding ways to be together. That was one of, like, project-wise, that was one of my favorites.
Cool, that's awesome.
Because it was neat. Oh! We did it as a series of YouTube videos.
The Illustrated Man by Ray Bradbury. Have you read The Illustrated Man?
That's been a while, but yeah.
Okay, that's one we could read. And the one about the books.
Fahrenheit 451.
I was like, Firestarter? No. That's King. Fahrenheit 451. That's a really good one.
Yeah, it is.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Well, but if we do Fahrenheit 451, I'm going to push that we have to do, because this is how I do it. You have to do 3 books together. Okay? And I demand that you do them in this order.
What?
Okay? Yeah. George Orwell, 1984. First book.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to ever read that
Second,
again.
I love that book.
I read it in high school.
Every couple years I read it.
I read it in the past 5 years. And I got a lot more out of it the second time, but I never want to feel that way again.
Well, but here's what you have to do. You have to read these 3 books in order, in this order. Okay? Orwell's 1984.
All right.
Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Yep. Fahrenheit 451.
Interesting. Yeah. I want to read Brave New World again.
I'm blanking on who wrote. You need to read those 3 books in order. In that order. Because the contrasting between each in the Dystopia Society is mind-melting.
Yeah. Read
those 3 in that order and take notes and then compare.
I don't think I'm going to do that, but I appreciate I want to read Brave New World again, and I want to read Fahrenheit 451 again, but honestly, I annotated and everything. 1984. I read it like I was in school, and I got a lot out of it, but I just, it's so bleak, and it's got good stuff to say, but man.
And I understand, but I mean, that's part of the power of that book.
Have you seen the movie Equilibrium with Christian Bale, Sean Bean, and Emily Watson?
I want to say yes, but I'm not recalling it off the top of my head.
It's a dystopian film, and I would say that you want to read that after you've read Fahrenheit 451, because it's sort of a similar premise.
Oh, yes, I have. That is a favorite. Yes,
I like that.
And it does run parallel to 451. Yes,
seriously, that's their job is to go in and destroy art and film and books and things like that, and snow globes.
And that does run
apparently.
But that does run nice and parallel to what 451 is doing, and that was an underrated movie.
Really? I mean, okay.
I mean, I will say this: the gunfighting dance thing was weird, but
I loved it at the
cool
time
visuals
when I first saw it. But you know that scene? Okay, do you remember the scene where Christian Bale's character, Preston, is interrogating Emily Watson's character, and he's supposed to be interrogating her, but they're across the table from each other, and they just slide their fingers to each other and touch fingertips, and it is the most sensual, sexy thing. That is one of my favorite scenes ever because so much is said in those fingertips touching. And The Color Red I just love that movie.
It is a good movie. It is worth watching and comparing with 451. But all right,
do we have to go now?
Just a brief aside, I guess. Yeah, we gotta wrap this up because we're at 1 hour and 15. But one other thing, I have been rewatching the Matrix series.
Oh yeah,
especially in preparation because they're making Matrix 4 this year, or releasing it this year. No. Oh, whatever. We're fighting. We're in a fight. That's it.
No. We'll talk. Well, let's have a discussion when it comes out. We'll have a discussion and we can discuss the Matrix series and why.
We're still fighting.
I'm not really a fan. I loved the first Matrix. I loved the first Matrix, and it's one of my favorites, but I didn't like the sequels.
All right, whatever. We're not friends anymore.
And I'm sure that watching those movies with you would be a completely different experience than watching them by myself, because that's how you are. But
What, OCD and like going 10 levels deeper than maybe the directors intended to? Yeah, probably. But no, I love them. Yes, fine. Reloaded and
Revisited?
Oh, I'm forgetting it. No, it's Reloaded and something R. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm just watching Reloaded right now. But yes, watching those two, they're not the best additions to the Matrix, but they're still good. Like, 1999 Matrix is phenomenal. Those two movies suffer a bit, but they're still really good. So, but alright. Everyone, thank you for listening and hanging in there with us. Hope you enjoyed this conversation. And please do remember, moving forward, we're taking recommendations from you on topics, on books, on movies. Culture is a part of what we're talking about. It's not everything we're talking about, but we have a couple things upcoming, and next week, Lindsay, you're not here.
No, sorry, guys.
But, happy anniversary. Enjoy your time.
Thank you.
We'll catch you in 2 weeks when we're going to talk about weight loss.
Yay!
And dieting. And, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. We're going to do this as a quick promo, okay?
Okay.
So, I'm doing really good with the diet, but yesterday, we took a family day. We went to Hershey, PA, which is close to us, and we went to Hershey Gardens and saw flowers and butterflies and had a great day. And then we're like, oh, we're right by Hershey, PA. Let's go do the chocolate factory tour.
And now your mouth is burning off because of all that chocolate?
Well, you do the chocolate factory tour, and they're pumping in, like, chocolate smell for the whole thing, so that by the time you get out and you're in the big store, you're like, I want chocolate. We're going to talk more about that in 2 weeks, because that was weird.
Cool, I
can't
hungry. Wait. I can't wait.
But yeah, we're talking dieting in 2 weeks. We're going to talk cuss words coming up. We're going to talk... I can't remember everything we've got slated. I got a list somewhere.
Me too.
But yeah, we got a handful of topics that we're going to be jumping into that are going to be great. So keep interacting with us on social media. You can find us now on Facebook at the 42 Podcast, on Twitter at the 42 Podcast, and you can find us on YouTube at the 42 Podcast. If you get on there before I fix it, sorry, everything's out of order. That will be fixed shortly. But yeah, we're having fun with this. So, and email us. Drop us an email. And I got the email wrong last week. It's badtheologyproductions@gmail.com. It is not badtheologyproductions at whatever I gave, but it is badtheologyproductions@gmail.com. All those links can be found in the show description.
Ta-ta.
That's getting to be a lot to say.
Yeah.
That was like 3 minutes of...
Maybe we should do...
You know what we should do? That.
Yeah, we should do a template.
Yeah.
Get on that.
Sure, right. But hey, good conversation, Lindsay. This was fun.
It was fun. Have a good one.
So, and thank you again to everyone listening. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to the 42 Podcast. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. And if you want to join in on the conversation, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter to add your voice to the conversation. Thank you.